Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 26th of December for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad overview that we can all relate to, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep into each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So as we come into this week, one of the aspects that's not really been discussed very much is the fact that Saturn, the planet of structure, in one of its two home zones of Aquarius, is in a semi-sextile with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So we've got two planets located in their home berths, so they're in dignity. This semi-sextile is interesting because we're seeing some major structural changes in the world, and this week of course is very much to do with Capricornian energy because we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus and Pluto all in that sign. We also have Venus and Mercury coming into a conjunction on the 29th, despite Mercury going into retrograde that day. And also on the first day of 2023, Venus and Pluto come into an exact conjunction. So why am I talking about Saturn and Neptune in Aquarius and Pisces? Because I feel it's the direction of travel that's starting to open up. Once Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 24th of March, okay, it's just a brief journey through to early June this coming year, but it will be back for the long term through to year 44 from the 21st of January 2024. And the Aquarian energy that we're being pulled towards is more about a higher consciousness about how each of our individual behaviours, because Aquarius is very much the sign of the individual, but also how that collectively works with one another. Whereas Capricornian energy is much more to do with the established, the more ordered way of doing things that has become more the precedence over time. So I think that Capricornian energy, as we come into the start of 2023, is still really important, and having Venus and Pluto in a conjunction, my word, that can lead to some fated developments for many people throughout the year. But with Mercury in a retrograde, that's given us a bit of a clue that we need to rethink how we handle resources, how we approach things to do with materialism. Just what value do we put on those old-fashioned notions of status, big properties, big cars? All of those things are going to come under increasing stress through the energy that's going to develop with Pluto in Aquarius. And Saturn has given us a taste over the last few years. So the angle between Saturn and Neptune is asking us to blend our perceptions and our sensitivities with the more progressive side of our thinking and how that interacts with other people. Now, it is also true to say that even though Mercury goes into the retrograde, which it will emerge from on January the 18th, it will still be in its post-shadow retrograde through to the 7th of February. So the early parts of 2023 are not necessarily going to be a straightforward plan. So we can set those New Year's resolutions. I should say that on New Year's Eve itself, the moon is in the sign of Taurus, where it really likes to be. It's exalted here, so a lovely place to be, and it's actually forging a beautiful semi-sextile to Jupiter, the planet of growth, newly arrived back in the sign of Aries. So I think that kind of says to us that the moon in Taurus is very much an appreciation of the good things in life, whether it's good food or good wine, but the Jupiterian energy is asking us through its rulership of Pisces to be mindful of the spiritual dimension, but also that we may have to refocus our longer term aims and goals because the world is changing radically, whether it's through automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, because we have the internet and technology has become at the core of so many of our lives. But as we come into the new year, and I'd like to wish you a very happy new year, On Sunday, the first day of this new dawn, that combination between Venus and Pluto is something to be mindful of, particularly in terms of business situations, because someone very charming and very persuasive is a person many of us will encounter in the new year. But we need to make sure that we're watching out for what the true motivations are of them and perhaps of ourselves on that particular event. So a lot of energy in the sign of Capricorn. That is asking us to think about goals, ambitions, and also it could be a culmination of a lot of effort that's gone in over a long period of time, where some people could get a deserved reward. But I think for many of us, what's absolutely true about modern life is that staying exactly as we are just isn't really an option, because the environment around us, quite literally, but also the interhumanal environment, is quite literally changing by the second. So sticking with those old objectives and those old ways of measuring what's important in life, such as the size of the property we live in, are going to make way much more for how we connect to other people and how we can find kinship, but also how we can find our individuality beyond the realm of purely making money. And I must stress, there's absolutely nothing wrong with making money whatsoever. So please stay with me for your in-depth zodiac forecast. But if you've yet to get your year 2023 12-month personal forecast, if you order it now, you can get your life roadmap as well, 2 charts, and 30% off. But I will also give you your general 12-month forecast, your Chinese forecast for the year, and your Indian forecast. They're all 3 within the package. Please see the link below. So Aquarius, your week commencing the 26th of December forecast sees that clustering of energy in your 12th house. The 12th house, very sensitive area, very psychological, spiritual, and emotional domain. It's one that, if we embrace it, can be very enriching. Our interest in natural medicine, in meditation, in healing, in all sorts of ways of thinking about life in a much deeper way. We can ignore the 12th house, and that can manifest itself as a lot of nervous issues and depression, or we can embrace it. It's something that the Western world generally struggles a little bit with. And of course, being an air sign, Aquarius people are quite logical, so it can be a tendency to try to work out things through the mind. So I think that this can be a week when you can actually gain a lot by perhaps kicking back with a book, or having some moments of complete rest and tranquility, getting into nature or any place where there's water. The 12th house is very Piscean, but also having an opportunity to really recharge. So if your vitality isn't great, if you don't feel particularly amiable or sociable, and the invitations come in but you'd rather stay closer to home, then it's very important that you accept that that's what you're able for at this moment. But with Jupiter in that 3rd house through to the middle of May, there's lots of exciting things coming for you in the coming year. But I feel that one particular relationship can be very fated. This energy can show up during this week. Maybe it is to do with someone from your past is going to be in touch, or you're going to get the desire to reach out to them. But if it's in a romantic context that you're thinking, I think it's also important to think about why the relationship stumbled in the first place, and has there actually been any fundamental change, not perhaps on your side, but on the side of the other person. If that's the case, then it may not really work out satisfactorily trying to reach out. But then again, if someone gets in touch that you're pleased to hear from, perhaps there were some politics in the past, perhaps there's some reconciliation in the air, an olive branch can be proffered. You could have a big decision to make, because with Pluto aligning with Venus, you quite rightly would be wanting to understand what the motives behind that was. And this could be particularly true around a sibling relationship, or with a neighbour that you may have struggled to get along with in the past. But in either case, it may not be exactly this week that development plays out. It could be in the next year. But Mercury in the 12th house in retrograde can make us a bit fearful about how much people like us or whether we can really trust people. But with Venus there as well, it's just kind of saying, do not let your anxiety or the movie start playing out in your mind if things are not exactly ideal. I feel generally it's been very tough for Aquarius people in recent years, along with Libras, and to a degree Geminis as well. So the air signs haven't really had it easy, either through Uranus, through Saturn, through Pluto. All of those influences have been quite tough for the air signs. But of course, with Pluto arriving in your sign on the 24th of March and Saturn leaving it on the 7th of March, and all that third house energy cascading in the spring with 2 new moons, 1 an eclipse, the North Node from the 13th of July. There's so much to look forward to next year. So I think any energies that come up this week are really the leftovers of some of the stuff that still just needs processing, that may be hurtful, that may be painful, that may be to do with disloyalty or betrayal by somebody else that once meant a lot to you. But you can heal from this, and Venus and Pluto can certainly help that process. I'd like to wish you a very happy new year.